Okay, now it's officially live. Now we're in it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. So yes, that's probably the most time I've ever spent on the production of it. It's just the intro. Like I spent a ton of time on the intro. Actually planning the podcast is like minimal to none. It's usually like then like 48 hours leading up to it. It's like what do we want to do this week? And even then sometimes it's just let's just hit record and see what happens and we just go from there. So it's yeah. So yeah, welcome, Max and Heather.
Yeah, thank you.
Of Shoreline Jiu-Jitsu and soon to be neighbors, very close neighbors, like tight neighbors of Fairwinds CrossFit. So appreciate you guys jumping on and appreciate you guys moving to the area. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, we are doing a big moving. We are coming from New Jersey to Maryland. It's a big move.
Really when are you guys officially moving? What's the move-in date?
May 1st.
May 1st. Nice, awesome. Are you guys done? Are you done packing yet? That's right around the corner.
Yeah, we even started yet.
Yeah, you haven't started. Good. That's.
Luckily, we don't have too much stuff that we need to pack, so hopefully it won't be too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I think the hardest thing to move will be the mats. Besides that, everything will be easy.
How much do you have? So how much do you have to move out of your current space with studio? Is it just the mats?
Yeah, just the mats.
Yeah.
Okay.
We awesome. Don't have too much in there that we need to get out, but the mats are heavy.
Yeah.
That'll be a good workout.
Well, if you need people to help move them in, I know a few strong people that'll probably be hanging around. So if you get to that point, I'm sure they'll be there. But yeah, like kind of the evolution of this is Max and Heather reached out about a month or two ago. It's happened pretty quick. It was just you guys are looking to get some jiu-jitsu in the area. You knew you wanted to come to Annapolis. You were looking for gyms in the area that had some space that we could work around. And we were looking at schedules and said, okay, here's my class schedule. I have space during the times that the gym's not being used, and I'm sure there's some way we could work that out. And Jack, it was cool actually. This is why I like Megan. I would be nowhere in life without Megan. They were on there. So Max and Heather officiate jiu-jitsu competitions on the weekend, so they're traveling all over the place. So they happen to be cutting through Annapolis on the way and said, hey, we'd love to come by and check out the place. And so we were standing around in the gym and walking around looking at it. And we were kind of talking about how we might be able to make a schedule work, this and that. And Max, at some point you had mentioned like the square footage that you needed. And Meg goes, well, how much space is there in the lobby? Like, you don't really use that much anyway. And Max goes walking in and looking, he goes, actually, this would work perfectly if we just like take this wall, move it, get the couch out of there. And in which case too, now you have the freedom to schedule anything you want. And that was all because Megan was like, well, what about that? Because I don't think it crossed any of our minds is a space. And it just made it even better. Yeah. And so yeah, I was stoked. So again, Megan just always says that. I'm just glad I just happened to have her. And I had Meg, all the kids, and Primrose with me that day, just running around the gym on it was like a rainy Saturday morning or something like that. Yeah. So, so it worked out. And it was one of those like, yeah, cool. You guys are interested and got the ball rolling. And now you're going to be here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're so excited.
That's cool. So you guys you'll set up shop in that front room section.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll have that shared entrance, and then we'll go. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, that's a cat in your hands. It's not a cat, but it's a cat.
She's cold, and then she's trying to find somewhere to warm up. And then she was being noisy. I need to hold her. Around like almost 300 square foot. So I think that's a kind of a good amount for like a small school, like a local gym. I think that's the thing that I'm worried about more is the gym has a face of a local gym. I don't want like a Mac dojo, like where it's huge or where people feel like lost on their beginning. on practicing jiu-jitsu, and my idea is to really easy to learn, affordable for families to try it, bring more kids from the area, and then bring people that never tried jiu-jitsu before. And then having the CrossFit on the side is perfect because that connects with other health culture and then another community that can empower the jiu-jitsu community because naturally it's people that do CrossFit, they will be interested in jiu-jitsu, and people in jiu-jitsu will be interested in CrossFit because we need kind of both elements to have a good consistent practice in martial art. And then I think is like especially jiu-jitsu now becoming like a second generation or a second version of a wrestling, and that's really nice. A lot of people that they had a good experience in the past with wrestling, they are moving to jiu-jitsu and finding that again. You know, that's the and then we are glad to like I said, it's like we'll be able to have our own space, we have our own schedule, and then that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that was worked set made it even perfect too. It was like having that space. There's no and that'll be, that'll still be a shared entrance. We talked about ways cool. We'll be able to set that up. So then people have a place to put their shoes and their jackets, and might even be like a little retail space for as people come in. But this nice kind of welcome area for people either go left for CrossFit, go straight for jujitsu. Um,
Yeah.
and again, half the time when that garage door is open too, people just walk in that garage door anyway. Um, but yeah, when we first, I wanted to before we even kind of started talking logistics, it was just to kind of get on the phone and get to know each other. And I think we're like, yeah, we can talk for like 10 minutes. I think we were on the phone for like almost an hour, just
Yeah.
just talking about this and that. And
I
so
so
it's one of those like natural things.
do with jujitsu or CrossFit.
Yeah, right. Like it was like after at minute 50, we're like, oh, so how are these two gonna tie together?
Yeah.
So it was so it was one of those cool things too, where just kind of getting to know people and be like, does it make sense, and personality wise and value wise and all that stuff. It felt good. So um yeah, so I was really excited for the partnership. Yeah. Which is and again, it worked out too. I feel like jujitsu, the popularity and the interest in it is growing. I feel like people are talking about it a lot, and there's plenty of people that are interested in diving into it. And I have a few friends that decided to start getting their kids into it. And you guys are talking about how, very similar to us, as we say all the time, that, everyone can do CrossFit. And just everyone has a different starting point, whether they're, whether it's a fitness level, whether it's their age, whether it's their, whether wherever they are with their health is a starting place. And you guys kind of have the same idea and kind of philosophy with jujitsu, right?
Yeah. We have a student at our gym. He's 66 years old, and he started off just doing our mobility classes. Then he couldn't stretch very far. It's like we started working like jujitsu movements with him, having him stretch a lot, and then now he's in our regular classes.
That's
That's
Um,
awesome.
awesome.
he can't do all of the sparring yet, but he's trying to start sparring. It's really cool to see.
That's
So like
cool.
walk me through what a normal class, like what's the rhythm or sort of, you know what I mean? Like I've never taken, I
You know,
think my kids did God, something younger, like once or twice. You know what like 7 year olds running
Right.
around in
yeah.
padded mats and it like to get them familiar with something, but it didn't stick and we moved on to something else. But so yeah, like what's a normal like walk that what's that experience like?
So we kind of divide two different classes for who's need the introduction to jiu-jitsu and the person that already has the knowledge. For who never did jiu-jitsu, I think the first step is create mobility and flexibility in the body. I think that's the most challenge for learning jiu-jitsu is that, and then naturally, gradually, uh, uh, like a learning the fundamentals of the jiu-jitsu. But jiu-jitsu started the concept of the self-defense from the ground. Jiu-jitsu and judo they are similar, but all fundamental jiu-jitsu came from the ground situations what that requires ground control. But before you be able to control, to do jiu-jitsu, you need to learn how to control someone. And then starting from there, so first you learn how to control your body, have more notion about how strong you are, how flexible you are, and then you start to understand how you can control others, someone else, and then you start to learn jiu-jitsu from there. For kids, I think the dynamic you'll be looking for coordination, flexibility, mobility, and the sense of community, sense of space, stuff is like that. But we'll create like situationals with kids that will be similar to jiu-jitsu movements, and then that they will increase their capacity to do without to have that labor of martial art. And then for the kids that they go gradually like learning jiu-jitsu, they can start to do more jiu-jitsu movements. And because some kids they are really talented for jiu-jitsu, they learn jiu-jitsu so quick, and then they reproduce adult movements so fast
Yeah.
that they already can compete, they already can teach jiu-jitsu. That's so funny. And then when the kid reach that stage, we create a class only for that type of kid. So you, in fact, something that I believe that we have always had two different type of class for who is getting there and for who is already there.
Hmm.
He's saying that capacity, and then for you never did jiu-jitsu before, and then I answer people, what you learn is how control someone, and then that's the has the principle, because jiu-jitsu has attacks, jiu-jitsu has takedowns, jiu-jitsu has controls, but you cannot do nothing if you're already not controlling your opponent. And then you start from everything from there. So it's very easy the way that our methodology works, because you don't wrestle in your first class, you don't go against guys that do jiu-jitsu for 5 years, or teenagers D1 wrestlers that they want to choke someone. I separate and make everyone learn together, and then they reach the they stage together. The big example that we had here, all of our students has no experience jiu-jitsu. Only one guy did jiu-jitsu 6 months before, but majority of our students never put a gi before, and then already they are doing jiu-jitsu, they want to compete. And then they, because it was progressive, the idea from like first you learn how to stretch, how to control your body, not be clumsy, like not like go too hard, or how to breathe correctly. Because if you don't teach the person that, that's the reason a lot of people give up jiu-jitsu. It's like if you
Oh yeah, you get too
uh,
fat too. Yeah.
if you ask a white belts or beginners when you go big gyms, and they ask like, what's the major reason that you leave? I say, because I don't want to be a sandbag for a 20 years old guy that think that I don't have work and I leave from light. And and then people don't want that type of experience. And then I think is my idea is create that experience different. It's like make someone like train together with people that they're in the same level, and then they feel like comfortable to insert a self-defense on their life.
So if you've got right, you've got the space in a class, will you have sort of those two categories of people, those getting there and those that are there, and then you as the facilitator kind of artfully put the two groups together? And it's
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I have to imagine too, like there is times where like it's not quite so definitive and determinate that like, no, thou shalt not pass. There's
Right.
some bleed over and there's some responsibility of, right, because if I'm there, it's a little bit easier maybe for me to scale my aggressiveness or my control of somebody to allow the person who's getting there to get a little bit more comfortable both controlling themselves and controlling. So there's like, right, like, yes, I love the way you frame that, by the way, like getting there and there, because even the people that are there probably aren't there ever,
yes,
right? You're
exactly.
never there.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's a good framing of a perspective that like, hey, Bob, remember 18 months ago when you couldn't figure out how to do insert name of move or insert name of whatever? Like, that's where Mike is. So like, I'm going to put you and Mike together, but I'm going to need you, Bob, to like take the role of this and let Mike kind of work on it, but don't let Mike off the hook, right? Like that sort of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very exciting to me. Like that feels very analogous to a CrossFit workout where it's a partner workout, where maybe you've got like the highest performing athlete with the lowest performing athlete. If it's been scaled effectively and managed effectively by the coach, both of those athletes get the stimulus that they need to get out of it. At no point feel like one is carrying or restricting the other.
Yes. Yeah, that I think was the my biggest personal challenge with jiu-jitsu. I came from a school that's very competitive, is a old school. Was founded in '86, so that's a old jiu-jitsu school from Brazil. And we have several world champs from my school, several like people that they are high level jiu-jitsu. And I graduated in health and occupational safety. I was a OSHA guy and working with photography, and I was not looking forward to become a jiu-jitsu pro, like a competitor. And then that was the hardest thing for me because usually I would came from college or doing something, I was tired already, or I could not get my hand hurts because I have job to do, and I still doing jiu-jitsu. And then I feel like that's where I can share my experience because I had the capacity to go through that experience, like training with someone that won 5 times the world championship, and then I was there struggling to be in class after college, and then I found my pace on that, and so I think is in that capacity I can help people in that aspect because the challenge of jiu-jitsu is kind of a different of like a golf or basket is because jiu-jitsu has kind of one big like a deep of commitment that people like, oh, if you start jiu-jitsu you already need to work out, you need to start to compete, you need to get jack up and then get ready. And then I think that time to already get in that process takes some a couple years, or some people even you get there. And then I think is that's my where I am in jiu-jitsu today, I kind of try to identify what the person wants with jiu-jitsu and then offer them what they need,
Yeah.
because I feel like when I was doing jiu-jitsu, all my friends was like, man, you need to compete and you need to do that, you need it's like, man, I have tasks at the end of the week, I have a wedding to do, photos on the weekend.
Right. I
So
can't have a separated shoulder. I got to go to work on Monday.
yeah, and I had a surgery in my shoulder, my right shoulder, and I did the surgery in 2014. I get hurt in 2006. So all this between 2006 and 14, my shoulder dislocated like 20 times. And it
Ugh.
was horrible doing class because I was afraid to my shoulder dislocate. And then
Yeah.
when someone go hard, they'll say, "Man, thank you for your like you really want to win me, but I'm fine. Thank you. I don't want to keep going because
Yeah.
Yeah.
my shoulder was dislocating fast, like easy. And then I decided to take it easy with jiu-jitsu. And then in the point when I became a transition, just became between a practitioner to a coach, I bring all this baggage with me. It's like I don't want to be the coach that tell a guy that has 3 kids, he has a work, and then to roll with someone that's single and that has nothing to do, and then they go hard on each other, and then I saw that on class. The person next day will be like, I'm off.
Right. And that's what you said, that it turns somebody off from the practice that should be or could be a lifelong sort of development of like there's the skill and the efficacy of the practice itself, but then sort of the translations of those skills into their real life. As you said, like they feel empowered, they feel like they can protect themselves, they have a better control of their body, they're just happier, right? They have that built-in community that allows them to feel a part of something. So if something that becomes artificially competitive drives them away from that, right, like that seems to be like your point of that's counterproductive to this whole project, this whole endeavor.
Yeah, we will separate by classes. We have like a 45 minutes class, intro class. That will be an easy class to do and like a really easy exercise. And if the person want to stay for the all level class, you feel free because a lot of people do that. And then including students that they already know jiu-jitsu, they sometimes they decide to go into class that they can learn even more like be like we call etiquette in a mat. You know, like
Yeah.
that's
Huh.
Yeah.
the change. The my idea is teach people how to act on the mats or how to act in one situation you are putting in challenge. That will happen in all circumstances and all levels. A person that has jiu-jitsu doing jiu-jitsu for a week, he'll have his own challenges doing that, and I think he's my idea is to like be like we are be small, you'll be good for that. I'll be able to be close off and help more one-on-one. And then I think is all my students here say that is like it seems like you're getting a private, and then in the end of 6 months your progress is so big because your coach was there with you, telling you small details. Is it different that in is a big school that you go like for a year and the coach even don't know the color of your uniform? And then that's the thing that I kind of I feel happy because I have that capacity. It's like I will be like managing each of my students and in a way that I know which area they are, you know, what I can ask someone to do or not.
So Heather, how did you find it?
I did Muay Thai. Sorry, I'm losing my voice for 7 years, and then the guys that were doing jujitsu every day were like, "You should stay and try jujitsu. You should stay." And then I'm always like, "No, I don't want to do it." And then one day I stayed, and now I don't even do Muay Thai anymore. I just do jujitsu. So it's been an interesting transition for me.
Was
Yeah.
it the same? Was it the same facility or the same studio where you were, Max?
But I
That's
switched to
that's cool.
from one to the other.
Was that somewhere in Jersey or was that in Maryland? Delaware. Okay.
I'm from Delaware. He was from Maryland, and then we started dating. We moved to New Jersey.
So right. So that's a funny math. So if you add Maryland and Delaware, you get New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We lived in Virginia for 6 months too. So we Maryland, Virginia, and then New Jersey.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
crazy.
No,
How did how did you guys land on coming back to Annapolis? What was it that sort of drew you here, other than the water and the excitement to be close to the water, Max? That was I like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like Heather don't know too much about Maryland. I moved in Maryland 2018 from Brazil. Maryland was my first state that I moved, and then I was with that idea. Like, man, I move out,
Excuse me.
and then people told me, man, Maryland's a great state. If I was you, I'd stay. And then I realized that, you know, like I feel like especially for like you said, the Annapolis area, I feel like that's not too big city. Doesn't have that face off like Baltimore area, or it's not too near DC like Silver Spring, or you see a lot of traffic. I think Annapolis has that face off like a old neighborhood where it has more family oriented, and that's not like malls everywhere. And then the first point was about keeping the shoreline. It'd be weird to have a shoreline jiu-jitsu in Frederick. People you like, man, where what shore do these guys talking about? And
Yeah, being on the water, they don't even have to change their name now.
yeah, and then I think he's like was a kind of a good fit because her family's in from Delaware. We are right on a bridge. We can cross and get in Delaware and drive there. We don't need to get the 95. And then other aspect is like I was used to teaching Crofton, and I know a lot of people in that area. And then I kind of feel like that's where I have more friends surrounding gyms surround. And then that honestly, I don't know, we are just like when we put in ideas like let's get back, Maryland Heather start to email and then happen, and then to meet Eric, and then it's kind of now I kind of going with the flow, you know. It's like happen, happen. Like now we want, and we are glad because we are right on the water. We are right on the heart of Annapolis, and then even I feel like you said, it's kind of hard to leave the peninsula to go other areas. I can't wait to live that life
Yeah, man.
because I before teach jiu-jitsu, I used to have a cleaning business, and I drove all Maryland. I used to drive Maryland everywhere, every day, like 100 miles every day driving. And I can't wait to like drive 5 minutes to the school, be back home, have time to go walk into the school.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it's yeah, I definitely miss the convenience of being right up the street. There's a lot of freedom with it because you can get in and get out when you need to. It can also be you find yourself being there more than you need to. It's definitely if there's one thing I can tell you being that close to the gym is protect your time because you can make it real easy to pop in and out when you need to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's it was funny talking to you how much you already knew because you told me you lived in like Frederick and stuff, and we got to talking about Annapolis and how you were actually more familiar with the area than I think you gave yourself credit for. But you hit the nail on the head when we were Jack and I. Jack and I, well, I'd say even Jack started training people out of his garage, and then it turned into Fairwinds became the gym in his garage right up the street. And when we were looking to expand, I remember Jack going to there's a hardware store up the street. It was you were talking to the owner of the hardware store, and they
Yeah.
do they'll do address capture, zip code capture, or whatever when they with their customers. And he said something like 90 some percent of the customers were in the 21403, so that peninsula area code. And we definitely found that like yeah, being down here, we're in Annapolis, but this is very much a neighborhood centered, like family oriented, like people that are down here want to stay down here. And so we knew like even there's two CrossFit gyms 5-7 miles up the road. And I remember people would ask us like, are you worried about like being so close to these other gyms, competition, da da da? And as people that lived on the peninsula and people that know people live down on the peninsula are like, no, it feels like a different world just going up to West Street. It like Jack said, like the Home Depot isn't much further, and it feels like such a trek to get up there sometimes. That yeah, like it's having our space right here where I mean we when we opened there was we have a bathroom and a shower in the back that needed to be renovated and redone. But when we found that like most of the people that came there already, they're like, well, I passed by my house. Like we thought we were going to need a shower, especially for those morning people that would work out and then go to work. We found like, oh, well, they're passing by their house on the way to work anyway, so they might as well just shower at home. And
Right.
so we got that shower and people hardly ever use it. I think I've used it more than anyone's ever used it at the gym. And but it really is like a family oriented neighborhood. It's kind of a close knit, tight knit, like you are amongst your neighbors working out down there. And it's cool. It's cool. But it was I had a question as you guys talking. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. But what are you looking forward to most? Like what like you how long have you been up there in New Jersey?
1 year we've been here.
1 year. And then so has it in this like year, like has it been back and forth? Like we got to get back down there, or has it been just kind of a journey trying to figure out what's the next move?
So the summer is really nice here because we're right on the beach. But
Yeah.
it's winter time. It's like it feels like COVID. It's like nothing's open. Everyone shuts down. So it's been really hard in the winter time. It's kind of a depressing place to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
No restaurants. There's nothing to do. It's like it's been really hard in the winter. I think that's the main reason why we were kind of like we don't want to do another winter here.
Yeah,
Ah,
because Heather has her family has a house here, and then last summer we was like, let's move that house and spend the summer there. Like let's do that adventure. It was like a cheapest way to live for a while, and then it's like let's try.
and to see if we like the area too.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we are kind of researching to open the gym. We didn't have like a certain location that we would like to open and then I don't know. We just wake up one day, it's like let's open the gym here and see how it goes. Because doesn't have many jiu-jitsu schools here. Has actually two schools, like legit schools, and doesn't have many public, or I don't know how to explain. It's like seems like people live here between April and October only,
And then
and
it's like a retirement community
yeah,
basically in the
is I think I was joking. Probably like we probably have more over 40 students, like 4 years old students than regular students, because it's a retired community, so they don't have
Yeah.
kids, and then we don't have kids class, and then that's something that already started to like to bug us, because we would like work with kids, we would like to grow community, and jiu-jitsu grows so fast, jiu-jitsu schools go fast, and then here we feel like that would be a tough grow. We don't we basically need to or move for a location that has more density. And then honestly, I miss Maryland. I'm a person that I can say I'm a Brazilian, but I'm a Marylander. I
There
love
you go.
Maryland in that aspect. So because it's so quick, DC, you can have fun, you can do something nice in DC. You can drive Baltimore, you have nice. You can thousands places to go camping, go hike,
A little bit
and
of everything.
we love to hike. And then we are more day activity person. We like to explore during the day, and then I think is even New Jersey in that aspect has more, it has less to offer than Maryland. It's like for in that aspect of culture, in aspect of nature, I think Maryland has so much to offer in that aspect. And honestly, I don't know, I miss that so much. I don't know, it's because the winter here was hard, but I miss go like Paptasco Park and then do some hike there, going Frederick and then do some
Yeah.
hike there. It's kind of fun.
We
Aspect
have a
of
great flag, way better flag than New Jersey.
yes,
yeah.
exactly, that's true. And the food, I think, is like man, everywhere you go in Maryland, you find some nice restaurant. And then especially where you are right now, even Chick-fil-A they have. That's kind of tricky because you're like, man, let's eat something it doesn't have here.
That's funny. Yes, we do have Chick-fil-A. They're everywhere
Yeah,
now.
not Wildwood.
Yeah.
I love you said there's a nice restaurant and you went right to and there's Chick-fil-A. It's
Yeah, that
true.
was selling the
No,
Chick-fil-A.
That was a selling point.
I
That's
was like joking with the headers, like have a giant right near to us in Annapolis. We are like a near bunch of restaurants. Has Chick-fil-A around us, so
You're
it's
like
fine.
sold.
Yeah,
It's fine.
that's awesome. So do you guys like to get out on the water at all? Are you boaters, paddle boarders? I would say swimmers, but you don't want to swim in Back Creek. I would advise strongly against it.
Yeah.
Jack's jumped in there a couple times after workouts.
Wow.
Yeah.
We like kayaking. That's fun. So we're excited about that. The house that we're renting, they have kayaks there. So we'll
Oh,
definitely
cool.
be using those for sure.
Well, yeah, and you are welcome to store them at Fairwinds, being that we are a boat and storage. We are a storage facility for the transient boaters of Annapolis.
That's
As
true.
well. Is that
Yeah, that's
I got the
funny.
line right from day one? Jack was something like that, yeah. But yeah, we got the rack, so you're welcome to store them there. No problem.
Like
That's cool. So
paddleboard or kayaking or something like that?
you what?
Do you like kayaking or paddleboard?
My wife and I have we have a kayak. I've been paddleboarding and stuff. I have not done as much since the kids were born. I used to get out there occasionally, especially in the summer. There's also a place called Capital Sup, stand up paddleboarding. They're actually right across the parking lot from us. But it's a great, I mean, they've been around for what, 10 years, give or take now. But if you're trying to get in some paddleboarding too, they're good friends of ours as well. And but they, when it comes to paddleboarding and stuff around Annapolis, they run the show. And I think they even launch out of Quiet Waters Park, which is right up the street from us too. They have launches from there. You could launch right there from right off the pier, right there by the gym. But to answer your question, I wouldn't say that I was avid. It was a hobby that I would do occasionally. But since having the kids, I haven't done it, I think, at all. But simply once they get old enough, I want to. Especially too, we live where we live. We have a nice little harbor going out to the bay, and so if we decide to get a paddleboard, it'd be fun to let the kids kind of like float around in the harbor a little bit before we take them out to the bay. And then even the bay, funny story, the kayak that Megan and I have, we took out on the bay one time on a day that we should not have taken it out. The current and the waves were, the water was a little choppier than it should have been. And it was like our first time out. And we definitely were not in sync when it came to paddling. And so current just kept taking us like toward the Bay Bridge, like up. The point we were getting a little frustrated with each other. To eventually it tipped over. And then we're standing in the water. And I don't dislike the water, but I really don't like not being able to see what's underneath me. And I could feel all the things underneath me and all the jellyfish. And we're trying to get back in this kayak. And I'll tell you, I think we eventually kind of got ourselves back to shore in somebody's backyard with this kayak. And we're just like, can we borrow your phone? We need to call someone to come around and grab us. But I tell Meg all the time, it was that moment that like, it was pretty heated, but we made it through. And I knew that, okay, I'm probably going to be with this person for the rest of my life because we didn't kill each other or break up in that moment. And it was a defining moment in our lives. So I do enjoy kayaking, but whenever I think about it, that's the first thing that comes to mind is where I either was going to come out with my life partner or possibly left someone's body in the bay to be found later. Somebody's body was going to be left. It was either mine or hers. I probably put my money on the fact that she would have left my body there. So anyway. But
Heather, first time we kayak, Heather was kind of scared too. She was like, I don't know if I go with you. And then she relaxed and it was fine.
I had a similar thing that happened with my niece. I wanted to take her. I took her in a canoe though, and then she wasn't listening to me. And then it's like we were trying to paddle and we're not going anywhere. We're just stuck in the middle of this lake. And then finally we just let the water take us like into the shore, and we drug the canoe like a mile back to where we rented.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of. Well, that's what I thought about when he wanted to go. I'm like, no, I'm out for canoes.
Yeah. Once that current gets hold of you, there's no going back. Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, I kind of go back to something that I was thinking when you were talking about jujitsu and getting people into it. It feels like there's so many parallels where you're kind of talking about like. So one thing we hear a lot with CrossFitters is they'll come in the gym, and or not even CrossFitters, people before when they first come in, it's that whole like I'm not in shape to do CrossFit. Like I need to go to the gym and get in shape to do CrossFit. And you kind of said it too. Like I'm curious as what is like people like, well, how do you get? What's this? I feel like there's something similar. Like I bet you don't have people come say, well, I need to train jujitsu before I get into jujitsu, but it's not as. There are people that'll be like, well, I need to get fit to go. I need to go to the gym before I start CrossFit. So they'll probably go and do, curls with dumbbells and Smith machines and all that stuff. They think they are. But what is what's a common barrier for someone? What's the common barrier that really isn't much of a barrier? They just think that is trying to get into jujitsu.
I think first is the schedule. I think some people, they schedule don't match, and then they feel hard to the routine to go in the gym. And the second aspect is the pain. I think jiu-jitsu, like in sort of moment, can be really intense. And then if people don't know how to measure that in the beginning, the pain is a big reason because you see people getting hurt and then they don't treat that correctly, or they get sore and they keep in going to gym sore, or they don't treat properly. And then I think that's the barrier more. Like people like, oh, I need to stop because I got hurt. And then or is usually because they go too heavy or they go too hard on each other
Yeah.
without supervising. And then I think that's kind of the common thing. I think to get in shape, I think is like is funny because when you see like the guys when they are big, when they're strong, they want to keep that weight or they want to use that weight on class. So they want to put like a be heavy on top of someone else. And then in jiu-jitsu is impressive. Like it's so easy to lose weight. It's like you go losing weight really fast. And then I think is like is more in that aspect. Is like the fragility of like you train one day that was too intense and then you don't know how to rest. You give a time to rest, and then in the next day you go there, you go hard again, and then that became an injury. And then in the moment the person is going to doctor, and the doctor said you need to stop jiu-jitsu for 3 4 months. That's really common, especially when people doesn't have a coach to give them that sense of
Right.
intensity on class. I tell my students sometimes, do one sparring, do one time, 5 minutes and go home. Don't worry about give like 5 times, 6 sparring rounds, and then every night. That's only for people that they are professional. You know, they have someone to do massage them after class. They have ice bath to do. You go home and eat McDonald's. You know, is a different type of reality. And then I think is the most reason people give up is that they started became too hard. They start like too sore, like the joints are hurt. And as a man, I give it time for jiu-jitsu. And when you control that, jiu-jitsu became like really easy to keep it going. Especially like you separate class, you make the class really easy one day, and then you
Yeah.
can go a little bit hard in the next day. In the next day, you go easy again.
Yeah, I
So
feel like
you
thing that Max does really well when he organizes the classes, it's like every day you're not going to go 100% because then you don't want to train the next day. So
yeah.
he, we do a lot of situationals, which are basically like, games. It's like he'll say, okay, someone starts on the back, and then one person has to choke the other person has to try to escape. We do that almost every single day, games like that, but we don't spar hard every single day.
Yeah.
We don't have the hard rolls at the end of class where you're too sore, you don't want to work, come back the next day. He does a really good job with that, I feel like.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu culture, we call the round roll
Or spar.
or
Uh-huh.
spar
Yeah.
moment. We call roll. And then some
Well,
gyms they have days that is only rolls. You go in the gym and then you just spar. And then without supervising, you have a guy that's doing jiu-jitsu for 3 months, and then he's watching a lot of videos. He thinks that he knows a bunch of things, and then you get another guy has 5 years doing jiu-jitsu, but he's a military guy that travels everywhere, trains everywhere. And then definitely after a role like that, the beginner will kind of step back in jiu-jitsu, especially if the guy went rough on him. And that's the sense that I feel in gyms when a guy that's like he's trying to get the pace of jiu-jitsu. He's tried to become a practitioner, and then someone came and then hurt him. And then I think is that's where I want to build that capacity to have control on that. You know, it's like I would just put people that have experience doing hard exercise with people with experience, and then let people that they're like learning in that concept like you don't need to do this type of exercise or you don't need to go with him, for a while.
I think CrossFit very similar. Jack, I think Jack always does a really great job at kind of explaining this to people, getting people to think about it more because CrossFit is about like the magic's in the intensity, right? Like it's getting that heart rate up, getting moving these moving large loads quick, moving large loads long distances quickly. Like that's kind of the idea. But people look at that and they think every workout has to be like balls to the wall as hard as you can, 120%. And I there are days that like, yeah, today is the day to like go hard, test that, push that limit. Where other days are like they're training days. Like it's intensity can still be there, but intensity varies. And it's the you'll it's finding that sweet spot where like there might be one workout a week, where you're like, I'm getting after it this week. And then the rest of the workouts are like, I'm hanging more anywhere from that like 70 to 80%. And there may even be like you're going to throw in a rest or active recovery day in the somewhere where you take it down quite a bit to make sure you're taking care of your body. Let your body move through these, super intense one day, a little bit more, dial it back, easy day one day. We even throw in, about every 7 to 10 days, we do a heavy day, which is like heavy is intense for like a second. And then there's a lot of like resting and recovering. And so building strength, but the intensity and the volume is way down. Curious, like one thing we work on a lot, like with CrossFit, like let's say someone comes in with a shoulder injury. They're like, you know what, I can't really press overhead today. So like, what's something else that I could do? And so I know us was like, okay, maybe we don't use that arm and we press one arm. Maybe the overhead bothers you, but we could do like a push up. Maybe we're pressing out in front of our bodies. We can still get some sort of pressing. In jiu-jitsu, though, it's very much like, from my outsider's perspective, like you're holding on to people, you're rolling around and stuff. Like if I come in and I have something going on with my shoulder, like how do you, if you're in a class that day, if you're training that day, like what would you have that person do knowing that like they may not be able to use that arm to the full extent that maybe you typically want them to or need them to?
Yeah, no, I am a good example for that because my shoulder was dislocating really easy for.
That's why I use it. I figured, yeah, that's you got experience.
I was always trying to avoid positions. I was going easy. I was choosing my partners, and then I think it's like I decide like to do only sort of movements because jiu-jitsu is a bunch of sequences, and then I was only exploring a few sequences that I knew that will make me put my hand in the ground and then using my arm as a support, and then obviously like putting pressure on my shoulder. I was avoiding that. I was not doing takedowns. So, and then I put a lot of restriction on my class. And then I think can be the same thing for like someone that's the shoulder injury. So avoiding some situations, doing sort of type of exercise, and then something that's the person can do warm ups, the person can drill, the person can learn new positions, and then he's keep sparring until he feel better on his shoulder. I
Yeah.
think it's always with the idea to identify the injury and then it sees like what is the limitation you have because some injuries you even should put a gi. The way you put a gi, you will increase the injury. You make it even worse. So you should stay home for a week and then come back better and then go healing naturally, watching class, stretching, stuff like that. But I feel like usually the most common injuries like his shoulder, knees, you have like some like other variations on the class that you can like make the person work without go hard and like choosing the right partners, putting them together, putting the same weight, putting around the same age. That kind of helps a lot. Something that's you see more the gyms that they don't have this type of management is that you see a
Yeah.
guy that is coming from a surgery and then the coach put him to work with a guy that's like a 50 pounds heavier than him, and then that type of sense that's make more in the class for like, man, you should go easy or you even should sparring today, like you should
Yeah.
just watch and do some easy light exercise and go home.
I was gonna
Please.
say I get injured a lot, so but I always learn more jujitsu watching jujitsu than actually doing it. So like
Hmm.
when we're refing, sometimes I pick up things that I see people doing, and then I try that at the gym, and then I'm like, wow, that works, Like
Cool.
sometimes, giving your body a break and just watching, even if you're just really tired, if your body's just really sore that day. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I don't roll every single day of the week because I don't want to get hurt or I don't want to hurt something further. And I think that that's something that a lot of people in jujitsu do when they're nursing injuries. They kind of take a rest day, they just watch the class. There's still a lot you can learn from just watching.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Listen to your body, though, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's always a good, I feel like that's always a good like fallback. Like listen to your body.
Yeah, Yeah,
Good.
including. I don't think that gyms, regular gyms, they teach you that. I think CrossFit, Jiu-Jitsu, or sort of other exercise or other sports, they give you that sense of reading better your body, like that sense. Because I feel I started going to workout gyms. I was 12 years old, 11 years old, and because I was
Uh,
doing martial art already, and usually martial arts schools in Brazil is inside a workout gym. And then while I was waiting for class, I was lifting weights. And then I grew up in that environment. And then I think like usually it's like, oh, you need to eat well and lift weights. And then usually you learn is like that. I don't think it's only that, you know. The first is eating well, like resting well, learn how to take care of your body, understand the dynamic of the muscles, the joints, all that part can can increase your capacity to keeping doing the sport. It's just like, oh, I went to the gym today and then I feel so sore, I feel destroyed, but I think I did a good job. Probably you got a really serious injury that will take you out from the sport,
yeah.
and then is that, you know, the person like know how respect their body in that sense.
So what would you say, like, with CrossFit, we'll say, we use the term functional movements, and a lot of this stuff is like, yeah, we're cleaning barbells and we're pulling ourselves up over pull-up bars and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, this is like getting our body moving, and these are, a lot of these are movements that you use in everyday life, um, just not with the, we're not picking up a perfectly balanced barbell, but we're lifting our kids, or we're lifting those boxes, or we're, lifting a tire to, change on our car. But like the idea is that this is stuff that it's practical outside of the gym as well. What do you say to something like what is the practical application of like jujitsu outside of the gym? Like, what would you say to someone that's like, I well, I'm not going to be wrestling around with rolling around with people every single day when I go to the grocery store. So why would jujitsu be for me?
I think
You
jiu-jitsu
certainly
is
you certainly hope not.
a problem solving. I think is help you react when you under like uncomfortable circumstances in life. You get under uncomfortable circumstances all the time. Not necessarily you need to fight for it, but the mental control, the breathing, and then the
Uh,
aspect to like uh thank you but no thank you and leave. Jiu-jitsu give you that capacity. Instead, you start breathing how heavy, and then you start throwing punch. I think jiu-jitsu in as my adult life, I never fought as adult. I never went to like a scuffing with someone else as adult. As teenager, because soccer, you in the street and playing with kids, you fight. But as adult, but I several times jiu-jitsu was the point that I was facing my opponent or someone in the street, calm, understanding that I was ready for any circumstance, and even with the person ready to attack, I was calm and prepared for that. And then I was able to talk. I was able to solve that problem without creates even more stress. And then for my work too, I remember I work on PEPS in Brazil, and I was a safety manager for 3 years. And then I think jiu-jitsu in a work environment help you in that aspect of sense of respect, a sense of discipline, or your capacity to see the other side of the coin. It's not only you all the time. And jiu-jitsu is kind of
yeah.
that vibe reader, because when you're there rolling with someone, you can see the vibration, you can see the person vibe, and then I think is in life you learn how to read that. It's like your coworker is really stressed, and then so wow, I cannot talk with that person right now. And then in jiu-jitsu you can see a lot of bulliers, people that they like hurt people, and then you know how identify that, and then you know how deal with type of circumstance. Someone that want to hurt you on purpose, and then you feel calm even when the person is offering you some I don't want to say risk, because is everything there is kind of has a rule, you know, no one can hurt you, like, and know that. But I'm saying it's like, even when it's hard circumstance, you are able to breathe and get out and work on there. Even for kids, you know, I feel like that's what the kids learn to most. They learn how to not
Yeah.
react and get crazy, you know, when they need to act better.
Also,
That's cool. I like that.
too,
It's,
it too makes you strong, you know? It's like you're moving someone else's body weight you're moving out from someone else's body weight. It's definitely,
yeah.
I've felt stronger working out at the gym than I do, like, since I've been doing jujitsu for 4 years. My body feels so much stronger.
Yeah, is a different type of, is because when you go in the gym, you work more isometric. I forgot the name of the opposite. Isometric, when you need to hold and use your strength holding, and then another exercise you do more in the gym is pushing, is movement.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is a lot of that type of um, strength. Is like your capacity to hold, to be like controlling something. And then I think is that something that improves you in life. You know, your muscle has different functionalities. You know how to push, you know how to move weights, but
Hold on,
you
hold on. Now you're taking away from me. Muscles are our thing. You do the mental thing. We'll take the muscles, and then we'll fight all together. So we're good to go. So,
yeah.
so all right, let me get you off. We gotta wrap this up.
Let's move
We
to
gotta
the
finish up. Yeah, the muscles. We get the muscles. You get the mental. We'll go from there. Awesome.
yeah,
Perfect.
but we keep with the joints.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, yeah, we gotta wrap this thing up. And I'm sure we'll have plenty more time to talk. But I really appreciate you guys popping on. We can keep this
Yeah.
like 30 seconds left. Jack, I know you got to boogie. If you got to bounce, got to bounce. If you want to throw gratitude out, real, go for it.
Yeah, sure. I just I'm grateful for meeting y'all. I'm really it's been a pleasure getting to hear your story, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Like, it's really kind of that's a cool adventure. So I think you'll be a great addition to that marina and to the creek.
Yes,
It's really
yes.
nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too,
Yeah.
Jack.
So,
Hope
but
you-
yeah, I apologize. I gotta roll. No pun intended. And
That was nice. Well done. Way to bring it around.
yeah. So, all right. See y'all.
Awesome, brother. Later,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Oh yeah, sorry, he had to bounce, but we like to finish off the show with like a gratitude for the week and that sort of thing. So you got one you want to throw in?
Go ahead.
I'm grateful for that moving we are doing. I'm so really grateful for like you finding a nice gym. We have like a nice, seems like a really nice community there. I'm
Yeah.
grateful to find a nice house near the water where we always like to be like have more opportunity to be near the nature, and I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Cool.
Kind of me too.
There you go. Easy enough.
Of
Yeah, I appreciate.
life there. So really
You-
happy for that.
Yeah, I feel like it's funny how things just kind of work out sometimes. And without going to rabbit hole, like you guys reaching out and being interested, and then just again, like I said, Megan just kind of pointed out, like it's just one of those things where it's just Megan is just always so on point, which is like, well, what about this? And it just made this thing that we were trying to figure out how to work and the schedule and all that. Like I knew it was gonna be tricky, but I think there's gonna be something there. And then sure enough, it's like, oh, here's something that's even better than what we thought might. So it's just cool how this has all evolved. And I appreciate you guys reaching out. And it just seems like it's going to be a great fit for everything that we're going to offer. We're going to be a pretty awesome you've just upped the awesomeness of the little corner. We say on the creek all the time. That's our thing. We're down on the creek. And so I'm stoked to have you guys down here and excited for what the future brings between the two of us. So it'll be cool.
We are
Yes,
too.
me too.
Oh, awesome.
We are-
All right. Well, I'm shutting this down. I'm ending the live.